Hey classes, Professor Ramey here in what will probably be the last video and the last time you see me unless something goes horribly wrong. Because at the time of making this, I believe we have 10 more days until the end of the semester, right? And I'm making this video real quick just to go through the things that are remaining in the class, right? Kind of a little bit of a pep talk, if you will, and talk about things that kind of went right in this class and things that perhaps could be changed in this class, for sure. Actually, first, just noticing this in the camera, I tried to find a classroom where there wasn't so much noise and so much commotion going on, where there wasn't an air conditioner vent blowing down on me, and I think I found one. It seems pretty quiet in here, but notice now that there's a bunch of smudges on the wall, right? So, community college. We can't afford to have people clean some walls. Come on now on that. So apologize about that. It was not too distracting. First world problems, I know. Hey, the class is going really well, guys, especially looking at the grades. If we just looked at this class straight from the grades perspective, I'm very pleased with how the classes are going. I'm making this video actually for 2 of my online classes, and one was a regular start and the other one a second start, but y'all have met now. You're all at the exact same place with 2 assignments left to go, both due on December 17th. The monograph essay and, of course, the final exam, right? I'm going to take a second to address some discussion board posts and emails I'm getting. Some people are unclear about what to do about the discussion score in the class. Like, well, how do I grading this? There doesn't seem to be a lot of discussion. Yeah, I agree. I've been trying to provide some discussion, mentioning things here and there, discuss it on the discussion board, et cetera, et cetera. And it's, for whatever reason, it just has not worked this semester. I have never required discussion. I know that's a pretty big component of a lot of online classes. Professors say, you are required to make 1 post a week over some topic and it must be thoughtful. And you know, that's fine. That's actually, maybe I should start doing that. I don't know, when I was in college, I hated being forced to write something that I really didn't care to write, and that more than what was expected in normal class load. So I didn't want to implement that into an online class. So here's the deal. I'm just going to be pretty lenient. If you have posted more than just your introduction, right? If you posted somewhere else maybe once or twice, you're fine. Don't worry about it. If you haven't, you got 10 days. You know, maybe make a post. Ask people how they're doing, right? Talk about your favorite part of this class. Say something, anything, right? Or just something like that. Just something. Here's what I'm going to do is that the D2L shows me like how many posts you made and how many posts you read, and I'm going to look through that and I'm like, okay, well that's fair enough. Like, you know, you made 3 posts and you read every post. Okay, fine. You'll get 100 or 90 or whatever it might be on that. You know, I will give a final ruling on that through either the discussion board or a news announcement on how I'm going to break it down on that. But I'm going to be pretty lenient. Like, if you've at least posted an introduction, don't worry about, you're not going to get a 0 on discussion or anything like that. But that's something I might consider changing in the future classes. Somebody also mentioned I should make more videos, right? And I agree, and I usually did. I usually did. That's not very good grammar. I usually do, and I did back in the, except for this semester. I was worried that with Harvey that there's going to be more technological problems this semester. I have had more students drop my class than probably all 8 years combined. I don't know if it was what was going on that. Maybe they saw my face on the first video and like, fuck that, you know, I'm not there. Or maybe there was a lot of problems students were having because of Harvey, and I think that's more what it is, right? And that's why I didn't want to have too many videos. Things are required. I didn't know what everybody's situation was. So I decided to step that back and focus more on self-learning through the textbook, and which is fine in an online class. I don't think it's worked particularly well, to tell you the truth, on that. I mean, I'm sure you're learning. I hope you are. But part of history is discussion and is talking about issues. There are no 100% facts in history. We can't build time machines, right, and go back. So there's a lot of discussion, a lot of argument. And that is lacking in this online class on that. So those are the things that I think that, if it's been a trying semester on, but that's okay. Because when I look at the grades are really good, right? Now, your mileage may vary, of course. You might be like, what the fuck? I don't know. But you know, overall, they are. And for every single person in this class, I don't care where you stand, you can build that grade up to an A. Or reverse is true, but let's not go down that road, right? And you can go down on that. So, without further ado, let's talk about the 2 remaining things in this class on that. Actually, one more thing. The argumentative essay. Hopefully everybody's turned it in unless you talk to me about an extension, in which case, you know, you probably found out I'm pretty lenient about extensions up to this point on that, just because I want everybody to at least complete the work. Yeah, I might penalize you a point here or a few points here and there because it's not fair to the students to turn it in on time. But if you, for some reason, you're watching this video and you're just like, oh shit, I haven't turned in my argumentative essay, you need to contact me immediately, right? Because I might as well get some points instead of none, right, on that. I haven't read through them yet. I'm hoping they're good. I am. Judging from the work in the classes so far, I expect them to be pretty good, but you know, it's one of those assignments where if as long as you follow the instructions and you use the sources, you're probably going to do okay on it. Okay. The final 2 remaining assignments in this class are the final exam. The due date for the final exam is Sunday, December 17th at 11:30 p.m. Not midnight. I can't extend it beyond that because midnight's the next day and D2L has cutoffs every 30 minutes. So look, that's 10 days from now. The exam will be in the exam review and the exam will be posted. I'm actually probably going to post it as soon as I'm done with this video. The exam review is going to be missing one thing. I'm up here on campus right now and I didn't bring the textbook with me. And what I like to do is on the free response, I like to tell you which chapters and which sections to look for information for those free response. And since I don't have the textbook on me, I can't put that into the exam review. I'll probably end up posting the exam on that, but just know that there's gonna be a slight tweak. Not that I expect anybody to start the exam, you know, in the next 2 hours, right? Or, well, actually, I'm not gonna be home until like 9:30 at night. So maybe unless you know exactly where to look all this stuff up, I wouldn't take the exam tonight. You've got 10 days. And in fact, don't be named, well, 2 things. One, maybe you don't wait till the last minute, right? I wouldn't wait till Sunday the 17th to say, okay, I'm gonna do my exam. You can. We live in the technology world. It's a wonderful thing. It's a beautiful thing. I am broadcasting to you from, you know, the center of downtown right now in Houston. And some of y'all are, you know, in Katy. Some of y'all are in the Woodlands and Tomball, right? Some of y'all could be freaking Africa or Europe and watching this, right? That's the beauty of technology. The downside of technology is sometimes it doesn't work, right? And the problem that we don't want to run into is the class is over, you know, basically the stroke of midnight, the 18th. I cannot extend anything past that. I cannot. So might I suggest don't wait till the last minute to do the exam, right? Don't start the exam at like 8 o'clock on Sunday night just in case something happens. You can, of course, but I highly suggest you don't do it. The second suggestion, I'll make the exam particularly if you did not do as well on the midterm, right? Some of y'all did excellent on the midterm. Do the same thing. If you did not, most likely what happened is you didn't do well in the free response section, right? Which really is your exam. As you notice, the multiple choice, yes, there's 40 of them, right? That's a lot, and they're only worth 2 points apiece. The reason that I do that is because we're not meeting face-to-face, you know, twice a week like a normal college class. I don't get a chance to go over information, review information, look at information from a separate point with y'all as I do in my normal face-to-face classes. So, I mean, part of learning is going over information you've already learned and, you know, making sure you understand it. And that's why I pick the questions that we've already had. And that's why I pick a lot of them. Same thing on this exam. There's gonna be 40 multiple choice questions worth 2 points apiece. You've seen all those questions before. Y'all do great on that, right? You might miss a couple here and there. That's not a big deal, right? We're talking, you know, 4 to 10 points. So those free responses. If you didn't do as well in the first exam as you wanted to, keep this in the back of your head when you're doing those free responses. These are not just a couple of sentences. These are miniature essays, right? Treat them as essays. It's college class with a college final, right? You know, I'm looking for college level work right here. I'm looking for you understanding the material on that. And typically speaking, that means writing, telling me about, giving more depth and detail, right? If I said I needed more analysis, I needed more detail, go into it more, it's basically code word for write more, tell me more, show me you know more. And so that's a simple way to improve your exam score. If you already got a good exam score, just do it again because you probably already did fine on it. The beauty of the way I do my exams, yes, they're a lot of work because you have 3 essays to write. You don't have to write them as soon as you start the exam. I put up the exam review with, I think there's be 5 categories this time. You're only going to answer 3. There's be 5 choices, and you have to answer 3. Pick the 3 you're going to write, and write them out ahead of time, right? You got 10 days. Pick one, study, get the information, type it out ahead of time, then do another one, then do the third one. And when it comes time for the exam, go through the multiple choice, boom, and then just, I'm assuming I don't have a lockdown browser on the exam. I'm assuming you can cut and paste from your Word document and just put it right in there. I don't care. If you can't do that for some reason, because I'm not a big fan of D2L, not this semester anyways, but if you can't do that, well, at least you have it right there and you just copy what you wrote, right? Put it down. There's really not an excuse not to do well in the exam with that much time and with the questions ahead of time, right, like that. So they're the simplest way. If you're not happy with where your grade is right now, boom, knock out a great exam, right? And the last thing to do in the class, well, I guess you could do the exam after this, but the last essay that you have to write is based on the book, Eric Larson's Devil in the White City. And I bet you right now, a few of y'all are having an oh shit moment. Where you're like, oh shit, that's right, I forgot, I gotta read a book. Now some of y'all know, I know some of you have already started. Some of you might have actually read this book for this class. It is a very popular book. I hear they're actually gonna make a movie out of it and cast like Leonardo DiCaprio in it or something like that. I don't know, it's a good book, I like it. It is more of, it's a work of nonfiction, but it's telling a good story, and Larson's a good writer. And so if you get into it, hopefully you like it on that. But you got to read that book, and then you got to write the monograph essay. And I have the instructions posted on D2L. I'm going to go over that real quick, actually, just to make sure we're all clear on what I'm looking for here. Most important thing to keep in mind when you're writing this essay is I'm not looking for a book report or summary. I've read the book. I'm assuming you read the book. We both know what the book's about. You don't need to tell me, right? I know what it's about, and you know what it's about. What I want you to do is analyze it like an historian analyzes a book, right? Like we do in academia. And what that really means is we're looking for what's the author's main point? Why are they writing this book? And did they convince us? And did they convince us of their point? What's their point, and was it convincing? And you break that down a little bit more into fine detail, like how did they convince us or try to convince us of the point? Where did they fail in convincing us of the point? What sources did they use to try to convince us, et cetera, et cetera? And that's what all 7 of those, well, 6 of the 7 questions refer to, right? Question 1, what is the book's argument, thesis, or main point? Now, I will say this, that's a tough question in some ways for Devil in the White City. I mean, yeah, first off, Eric Larson's main point was to make, $100 million, right? I mean, he was writing this for mass consumption and to become rich, and he did. I mean, it's well-deserving of that, right? But he did have, there is an argument he is approaching to make here, even if it's not clear-cut in the book on that. Use your best judgment. I don't care if I agree 100% with what your argument is. That's your argument. It's what you think Larson's argument is. Read through it and ask yourself, what do I think his main point was here? What was he trying to get across? I will point you in something to think about. I mean, sometimes you can learn a lot from the title, Devil in the White City. Darkness, light, right? Think about things like the Gilded Age, right? Look good from the outside, dirty, filthy underneath. Think what point he's trying to make about Chicago, about industrialization, about the rise of technology and the changes from going from the 19th into the 20th century, right? Maybe that prods you in a direction or something to think about. right? But regardless, come up with what you think Larson's main point was. And then question 2, did you find it convincing? Did he convince you that you said this is his point? Okay, I was convinced, or no, I didn't get that at all, right? 3, whether you found it convincing or not, how did the author back up their work? How did they substantiate their claims? And I need specific examples here, right? You say, he makes this claim that blah, 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 right? Page 183, right? Or, or in the book, he makes a case that Holmes is doing this, blah, 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 right? This substantiates his idea that this is this. Page, 84 on that. Use specific examples from the book, find a few of them and use those on that. Question 4, the hardest question for many students. What critique or perhaps fault did you find in the claim? And even if you agree with it, you can still offer criticism, right? In other words, if you have this argument, and there's no such thing as a perfect book, where did the author not really back it up, right? Even if for the most part they did, there's still some, flaws in logic. There's still some parts that are lacking in there. Do your best on it, right? Try to look at it from a very critical eye and come up with that one. Question 5 or 6 are very simple, especially with Devil in the White City. They have to do with the source work. What sources did the author use to write the monograph, make their argument, and were they adequate? Go to the end of the book, right? And he has that. And Larson actually does you a favor. He kind of talks about the sources he uses. Look for common trends. He's using a lot of newspapers, a lot of letters, a lot of secondary sources like other historians' books or things like that. What's he using to make this claim? And then ask yourself, is that good enough? The simplest way, I think, to answer number 6, you don't have to do it, but the simplest way is ask yourself this: if I was writing this book, what were the sources I would want to have, right? And that's not possible. That's almost never possible to have the perfect sources. But ask it that way, and then say, did you at least try to go along those lines? Were these adequate enough to prove the point? And then question 7 is a fluff question, just a good conclusion. Your overall impressions of the monograph and its effectiveness. What'd you think of it? I actually use that question. I've been using Devil in the White City for I think a year and a half now. I'm probably going to change it up before too long. It's becomes a little stale for me to read all these essays. But sometimes I put in new books, right? And students will write, I freaking hated that book. F you, Ramey, for making me read this book. It's the worst piece of crap. And I read a lot of that. And I'm like, well, okay, get a new book on that. I haven't had that too much for Devil in the White City. I get a couple people that don't like it, but for the most part, if you're going to have to read a book, it's not the worst one to read, right? There. Okay, now, let me ask you something. Okay, there you go. After those questions, how do I write this? Look, I'm not telling you have to write the monograph essay this way, but I do believe in a very simple phrase, right? What's that old acronym? KISS. Keep it simple, students, or stupid, or sweetheart, whatever you want that S to be, scumbag, right? Keep it simple. You've been told since you learned how to write an essay that the most effective way to write an essay is intro, body, conclusion. Newsflash, that's not the only way to write an essay, right? But it is pretty effective. It's a pretty effective way to get your point across and to finish up an essay. Keep it simple. Start with an intro. You know what you can do in the intro? Briefly summarize the book. 4 or 5 sentences. Don't spend a lot of time on that. 4 or 5 sentences to introduce, to summarize the book. Questions 1 through 6 sounds like the body of the. Spend a paragraph on 2 on each of those questions. Paragraph or 2 on question 1, paragraph or 2 on 2, 3, 4, 5, down to 6 down the line. And question 7, your overall impressions of the monograph and its effectiveness. Sounds like a good conclusion, right? Read the book, write an essay, answer those 7 questions, turn it in, profit, right? Not too bad on that. The deadline, of course, is 11:30 on Sunday, December 17th. And yes, once again, I cannot extend it. I've been very lenient up to this point, right? Because I understand a lot of people, there's a lot of problems going on. And sometimes, stuff happens. You can't get it done on time. So I'm willing to work with you. I cannot work with you after the 17th, right? The class is over and grades are due, actually. So I actually extend that benefit. I don't know, you might be taking other online classes. Some of those might not even be open until the 17th. I want to give you as long as possible to do it because grades are due on the 18th, which means that, that basically I'm not going to need to sleep that night. Get it in on time, right? on there. If you have any more questions, feel free to email me and risk that. Once again, texting is effective. It really is, because emails, for whatever reason, it clumps together more than, I figured out what the problem is clumping together more than one student's email when I get emailed. And I'll get basically a chain of emails, but I can only see the first one, right? Don't know why, don't know how that works. So if you sent me an email and I haven't gotten back to you in a reasonable amount of time, send me a text, right, on that. And if I don't get back to you there, well, I don't know, could be dead or something on that. Guys, semester's almost over. You've done great work. You know, just gonna do a little bit more. Stay warm, cold outside. I hear it might snow on, I'll believe it when I see it, but I hear it might snow on Friday night, Saturday morning. We'll see about that, right? Just stay off the roads, because you Houstonians don't know how to drive there. Okay. Here's to a great semester, the very end of it, guys. Make a few more discussion posts, turn in the monograph analysis, and do great on the exam.